Today, among the highlights is the recognition of individuals and organizations who have given long and dedicated service to the sector. It is something we look forward to doing every year, and I think Ms. George takes great pleasure in recognizing those who have served the ECD sector well. So, we get underway with the official part, if you will, of our program, and to help us with that, I call on the Assistant Chief Education Officer, Dr. Jeffrey Blaise, who will deliver welcome remarks. Please welcome Dr. Blaise.
Your presence here is a testament to your dedication to early childhood education. The Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development is pleased to once again welcome you here to this Early Childhood Symposium. Every year, we host an early childhood initiative such as this one because we regard the presence, the participation, and the support of our various stakeholders in the sector. We want to hear from you, we want to deliberate with you, and we want to put in place structures to better our early childhood sector. This is indeed a timely exercise, partly due to the increase in recognition which we have given, the government has placed on early childhood education, but also it's important because of your role in the development of the sector. You are the main stakeholders, you are the ones on the ground, and you are the ones who are to change our sector to make it much better as we have envisioned. This event, in a way, reminds us that if we are to make significant progress and effectively compete in an increasingly aggressive global environment, then the education system must continue to focus tremendously on the importance of the sector. We have said time and again that the little ones are the heart of the education system. And if we pay attention to educating, to developing the little ones, then at the primary years and at the secondary years, we have a much better group of students to work with. Indeed, research has proven, and the Ministry of Education believes, that investment made in early childhood sector pays significantly in later years, as I just said. And this is why we feel that the investment is well worth it in the early childhood sector. Over the years, the government of Dominica has significantly invested in the sector. We have ensured that subventions are paid to our early childhood institutions. We have gone much further to ensure that we pay the lead teachers and assistants in many of our early childhood institutions. And we have gone even further by ensuring that many of our early childhood centers are accommodated within our primary schools, and some of them are housed very near to our primary schools. And Ms. George will give you the numbers relating to that in her presentation, I am sure. Yes, Ms. George, I'm putting her on the spot. But it is important for us because we understand the importance of the transition between early childhood and primary education. Indeed, early childhood spans up to the age of 8. So our students within the primary school setting are still within the boundaries of early childhood education. And in order to facilitate the transition and ensure that our students seamlessly move from one learning point to the other, we felt that it was an important initiative to have as many early childhood centers within our primary schools as possible. Added to that is the issue of supervision and collaboration in ensuring that the early childhood administrators and our primary school principals work collaboratively to ensure supervision and safety of the students entrusted in our care. Legislation dictates that the system, the education system, has a mandate to ensure education at all levels, and early childhood is certainly one of these levels. One of the most significant partners in our effort is that of the parent community. And I will use this medium again to call on our parents, particularly those of the little ones, to work with the institutions, the local institutions within your communities, but also work with the Ministry of Education to ensure that we adopt and adhere to the regulations within the sector. That is very important to ensuring that the sector is well represented, well supervised, and efficiently managed. We have placed premium on quality in the early childhood sector. And you may have noticed over the years that we have adopted the high-scope curriculum in many of our early childhood centers. And this ensures that the learning of students and the exposure is what it is expected to be. I want to use this medium as well to call on the higher learning institutions to place more emphasis on training at the early childhood level. We want to ensure that we have the professionalization of the early childhood sector, and this starts with continuous professional growth and development, training for our early childhood educators, continuous training at that, and certification so that they can establish themselves as professionals. I am using this medium to request that we place that sort of premium on training, and I'm also using it to ensure that our early childhood educators make themselves available to continuous training in the field. Because it's only with training and professional growth that we can deliver the excellent service that we expect the education system to deliver. I really want to welcome all our stakeholders here this morning. You may have noticed that we have a wide representation across sectors, and this speaks well of the early childhood system, but also it speaks well of the coordination of this activity. I must ask you to give a round of applause to Ms. George and her team for putting together. And it speaks to the influence of Ms. George to have all those persons gathered here this morning. That is excellent. I really want to welcome you, particularly the media, because without the media, we would not be able to drive our message to the listening public and to the viewing public. The media plays a critical role in our collaborative effort and in our engagement. So, and the media is always well represented whenever we ask them to. Thanks to the media. I hope you won't ever get tired of us. Continue supporting our drive to develop the education sector. And I really want to welcome everybody here this morning, and I trust that we'll have a very productive engagement today. Thank you and welcome.
It has been 2 years since our last Early Childhood Development Symposium, which was held at the Arawak House of Culture on Friday, 11th November 2016, under the theme, Rebuilding, Rethinking Early Childhood Development, as we strive to recover following Tropical Storm Erika in 2015. Today, the next ECD Symposium is being held under the theme, My Love, My Country, My Dominica, Building a Resilient Nation, beginning at early childhood, following Hurricane Maria. Consequently, before we could get off our feet for Tropical Storm Erika, we were dealt with an even heavier blow, this time by Hurricane Maria. However, between Symposium of 2016 and 2018, much has happened. Before I give focus to our achievements, I want to review some of the key points that I had made at Symposium 2016. I called for a shift in the paradigm as it relates to the way in which our children are being taught. There needs to be a shift from the simple coloring and circling of adult work to teaching our children to be active learners in preparation for lifelong learning. I will continue to say it until I see a real shift in the paradigm across the country, not just at some centers. It is a joy to enter any preschool at any time on any day. You see beautiful children with different expressions on their faces. Each child is different. So when you walk into a preschool and you see children's work on display, each child's work should be different. The work on display should be an expression of individual talents and levels of development. Parents, it is your responsibility. I repeat, parents, it is your responsibility to ensure that the talents of your child or children are being nurtured at the preschool years. So the next time you enter your child's preschool, look for your child's work and see if it is really your child's work or the work of an adult. Parents, those of you who are here are a representation of all the other parents at your child's institution. Please spread the message and work with your child's institution to get it right from the start. At Symposium 2016, I presented an image of the formation of neurons in the brain and stressed on the age at which our children are generally ready for socialization. I informed the audience in simple terms that readiness for socialization is the benchmark for maturity, which is the benchmark for independent learning, which is the benchmark for enrollment in preschool. Talking is not the benchmark, because if it were, our children would have been enlisted in school by age 1 year. So I want to remind you that the rule of the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development still remains. Children who begin preschool for the first time should be 3 years by December 31st of that academic year. I also called for a revisitation of the way in which we socialize our children as it relates to gender. Who washes the dishes and who does the gardening at home? The third call was for the establishment of stimulation centers at our health centers to assist with the holistic assessment and development of our children, especially in light of our roving caregivers program. The question now is, where are we in relation to any of these? The second question is more personal. What have I done in relation to these points, and what is my role going forward as it relates to these points? During Hurricane Maria, all of our centers suffered some level of destruction, some being more severely affected than others. To date, 5 of our centers have not been able to reopen. They are Destiny Preschool and Marigot Methodist Preschools in Marigot, BJ's Preschool in Roseau, Blossom Preschool in Egliston, and Little Sunshine Play School, which is a toddlers program in Portsmouth. However, we welcome 3 new preschools: Clifton Preschool, which is temporarily being housed at the Capuchin Resource Center, and which will move in as soon as works at the Clifton Primary School are over. DA's Children Learning Center in Marigot, Church of God Learning Center in Goodwill, and L'Etoile du Matin in Stock Farm. We now have 66 preschools and 17 daycares. 24 preschools are either in the primary school or in buildings next to the primary school. As I mentioned earlier, all of our centers were affected in one way or the other. Fortunately for us, different donor agencies came to our rescue. We are thankful to the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, for first assisting us in assessing the level of damage at each of our ECD centers, both our daycares and our preschools. Having done the assessment, UNICEF then went on to present donations of tarpaulins and early childhood development kits, which were distributed to our centers. The kits contain teaching and learning materials for staff and children. We are also grateful to UNICEF, the European Union Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid, and Israel, who are currently working with us at the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development in developing an ECD toolkit for each of our preschools. It is expected that at the end of the exercise, staff at our preschools will have undergone training, and each center will have in its possession a manual which will serve as a guide to assist our children in dealing with traumatic events in their lives. Israel donated first aid kits to all of our centers, and the Dominica American Relief and Development Association, Inc., DADA, donated furniture and manipulatives to the 10 most affected preschools on the island. Following Hurricane Maria, 2 new members of staff were added to our Early Childhood Development Unit. Mrs. Doreen Ward joined us in October 11, 2017. Mrs. Ward, let them see you, please. Let's welcome Mrs. Ward. And Ms. Quinn Thomas on October 17, 2017. I want to request of you that you give them all of the support that they will need to make it happen for you. Mrs. Doreen Watt is charged with the responsibility of the daycares and the roving caregivers program, while Ms. Quinn Thomas gives direct focus to the preschools. I must add here too that a number of donor agencies also came to the assistance of the Ministry of Education in rebuilding and refurbishing our damaged buildings. At this point, let me take this opportunity to address some issues that confront us at the office. Parents, I pose this question to you. How far do your children have to travel to access an ECD center, and what is the reason for your choice of center? We have noticed that children commute long distances to access preschool, even if there are preschools in their communities or close to their communities. I want to point out to you that traveling long distances takes a toll on your child. Even you as an adult get tired when you travel long distances, far less for a child of 3 to 4 years. I know that we in the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development continue to establish centers to provide access to preschool education in as many communities as possible, and works are ongoing. Parents, we respect that you have choice. However, we want to caution you that in selecting a preschool for your child, please remember that traveling long distances takes a toll on the child's development. I also want to request that we put an end to just sending our little children on buses without adult supervision, with no specific adult responsible for the children. The next point is that we want to gently request of you parents that you do not use your child's education as a battlefield for your disputes as adults. For example, it is common to hear practitioners complaining that fees are not paid. Then the next common complaint is that of fathers who claim that monies are given to mothers, but mothers do not pay the fees, all because they want to get back to fathers. It may sound simple, but it is a problem. I want to ask that we stop this practice because at the end of it all, it is the child who is being affected. Do not entertain behaviors, negative behaviors, as it relates to your child's education. When it comes to your children's education, let us make everything positive. Today we are here for our symposium under the theme, My Love, My Country, My Dominica, Building a Resilient Nation, beginning at early childhood. And I want to give a little focus to it. To begin, let me share briefly a small incident that I had just recently. I recently boarded a bus and met one of my preschool teachers. So in speaking, I asked her for the final number of children registered at her preschool. When she gave the answer, I said out loud, "What? So people in your community not making children, man?" Well, in less than no time, I heard, "Lady, what you say there? Making children? You don't know how much for a tin of nido, man." That was the beginning of a lively discussion among most of the people on the bus until we got to our destination. What I want to say is that in the discussion, they were speaking of the types of milk that were being recommended to them, and went on, and how their children did not like that milk, and how they went on to use other types, and so on and so on. What was interesting, though, was when they spoke of not having milk in days gone by, and how they used local foods to feed their children when the breast milk was not forthcoming. Today, we launch Agricultural Week, and I want to extend sincere gratitude to Dr. Reginald Thomas for being here with us today. My question is in light of the comments that were made concerning the use of local foods to feed our babies as we speak of being resilient. What plans are in place to find out the real benefits and possibilities of using our local products to make baby foods for local consumption and maybe for export? Maybe the Ministries of Health and the Ministries of Agriculture can take the lead in getting the discussion going. The second point I want to make is in the area of tourism. There is a popular saying in Dominica that tourism is everybody's business. I want to extend an invitation to the Ministry of Tourism to work with us in early childhood development to explore ways in which we can begin involving our children at the early childhood level to have an appreciation for the tourism sector. On an annual basis, November is celebrated as Early Childhood Development Month, and November is right in the middle of the tourist season. Let us see how we can marry the two in building a resilient nation for tomorrow. Dominice, Mama, Papa, Teacher, à nous toutes venir ensemble pour faire Dominique un pays qui s'adoute en les pieds, en temps doulé, et vers à nous commencer avec cette maman-là. À nous faire certains qui nous indiquent en manière yo supposé indiquer, pour yo s'adoute en les pieds yo, les yo vini guan demain. À nous garder comment nous ça fait pli et vers manger local, en manger tes enfants. À nous faire certain que les enfants nous à la clinique, nous ça garder contre tous différents aspects de santé yo. À nous garder comment nous ça mener tes enfants en affaires touristes pour aider nous faire pli l'argent demain, les yo vini guan. Ladies and gentlemen, it was our wish today that our early childhood development anthem would have been sung by some of our preschool children today. Unfortunately, the cry was a common one. Maria destroyed my CD player, so we could not practice. So in closing, I would like to request of you that you pay special attention to the words in your program. They are right there in the program. Please pay special attention to them and think of them as a plea from our children to us as adults. I want to congratulate all of you who have been working with us in the Ministry of Education as it relates to early childhood development. My fellow educators, you know I feel everything that you feel. We laugh when we are supposed to laugh and we cry when we are supposed to cry, but that is life. I congratulate all of you who are receiving awards today. You have worked hard, so please feel proud to stand here and receive your award. It is your time. Others were before you and others will come after you. So with these few words, I want to say thank you to my staff at the ministry. We have Miss Layton, who is not here with us today, but she's the secretary that you hear behind the phone all of the time. Our two new staff, Mrs. Watt and Miss Thomas. Thank you, fellow educators. Thank you, parents, for your collaboration. Thank you for our partners. God bless the children of the Commonwealth of Dominica. Thank you.
Give me everything I need. Give me a lifetime of promises and a world of dreams. You speak a language of love like you know what it means. You can't be wrong. Take my heart and make me stronger. Oh, you're simply the best. Better than all the rest. Oh, you better than anyone.
expect. I didn't know what to expect, but she certainly did thrill us, didn't she? Well done. So thank you so much, Ms. Mulcair. We really did appreciate that. And that takes us on to Dr. Reginald Thomas, who will now speak about the fact that it is Agriculture Week from today the 12th, and his ministry wants to tell us all about an initiative that, in conjunction with the Ministry of Education, you'll hear more about it from him. Please welcome Dr. Thomas.
The Ministry of Agriculture has articulated in many of its activities that the very young, that we need to engage the very young in our programs as it relates to development of agriculture and building resilience. In the words of the Honorable Minister for Agriculture, Food and Fisheries, Honorable Reginald Austri, there is kiddies cricket, kiddies football, but where can we find kiddies agriculture? Hence the importance of introducing agriculture in the early childhood program. We would like to partner with the Ministry of Education to increase agriculture at the schools level, beginning with the very young. We'll provide technical support, and where we can plan together, we'll provide and make the resources of the ministry available to the Ministry of Education in making this program or developing a very effective schools program. We are very concerned with the issues related to hunger and childhood obesity worldwide. As we work towards meeting our obligations under the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, and zero hunger by 2030, it will require us to redefine agriculture to include initiatives at the schools, and as such, the development of school gardens, and the use of local foods, healthy foods, in the feeding of our children. We also think that the teaching of agriculture in a very holistic manner will lend itself to reaching these goals. Some information worthy of note. The State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World 2018 report states that 821 million people suffer from chronic undernourishment. At the same time, obesity levels are rising. Some countries suffer with both hunger and obesity at the same time. It is estimated, ladies and gentlemen, that 1.9 billion people are overweight. 672 million are obese. To bring this within the context of our country and in our children and youth, statistics from the Ministry of Health show some troubling trends. It suggests that the prevalence of overweight and obese children between 0 to 9 rose from 9% in 2000 to 12% in 2009. It is also estimated that 24.9% of adolescents 13 to 15 are overweight and 9.1% obese. We need to take stock of the foods that we feed our children. The responsibility is not only on the responsibility lies primarily on the parents, but also within the school system, the kind of policies that are established to ensure and to encourage the use of this local, or the use of local food. The task ahead, ladies and gentlemen, is hard, but with a collective approach of government and private sector to include our farmers, our fishers, we can reach our goals. This program is timely, and we look forward to building resilience in Dominica. So we must build resilience as well in our agricultural food systems and in our early childhood program. The school program is indeed a building block in this process. The ministry again pledges its support to this endeavor, and it congratulates all for the fine job being done in the formation of our young minds. And with you, and wish you very well with your program today. Once again, thank you for the opportunity.
It's a pleasure to be here this morning And I'm really delighted to be able to address you on this Early Childhood National Symposium, and especially on the theme, My Love, My Home, My Dominica, Building a Resilient Nation, beginning at early childhood. This is an adaptation of the theme which has been selected for the observance of our National Independence Celebration. As a ministry, we have begun our drive to ensure that there is resilience in the entire ministry. We have therefore proposed a new mission, which states to build and manage an education system that is transformative, responsive, socially and environmentally sensitive, nationally relevant, globally competitive, and inspires lifelong learning. Furthermore, we have also begun concentrating on resilience in infrastructure of all our institutions, including our preschools. So it gives me great delight this morning to announce some of our partners who have assisted us in the rebuilding efforts of our preschools. DigiCell, they have begun renovations at the Cassibruce, the Maho or Siniku River preschools. We have seen some investments through the government of Dominica at Jonesboro Pier in La Plaine. ResDM, Resilient Dominica, is working with us at Soufriere, and a new preschool will be part of that project. Clifton, which will be renovated with assistance by the government of Dominica. We have funds coming to us for the rehabilitation of some of our primary schools from the Canada government. And in that project, we will see refurbishments for preschool in areas like Delicis, and we'll see refurbishments of the preschool at Grand Bay. With the assistance of the Chinese government, a number of new schools will be built, and included in the plans for those new schools will be the inclusion of preschools, in particular Kalibishi, Thibault, Tetmon, Bellevue-Chopin, because we have to include students from Petit Savan and Pichelay. We have funding coming from the Maria Holder Memorial Trust or Foundation Trust. They are constructing 5 new preschools in Bells, Concord, Roseau, Trafalgar, and Warner. They have already started at Trafalgar. We have rehabilitation of the Salisbury Primary School, and it includes an early childhood facility. We also have organizations assisting us with the rebuilding of preschools. All Hands and Hearts, Paybush Primary, Paybush Preschool, and now Mount Prosper Primary. And soon another preschool will be announced for their rehabilitation. We have emergency architects. They have assisted us with the preschools at Benz and Penville. So we are well underway in terms of infrastructure and in terms of rehabilitation of some of our preschools. I want, on the behalf of the Ministry of Education, to express our deepest gratitude to all our donor agencies who have assisted in the recovery effort following Hurricane Maria. We in the Ministry of Education have recognized that in our quest to build a resilient country, we should not only concentrate on the physical aspects of the sector, not only on ensuring that we have infrastructure that are as resilient as they can be, but also on the development of human capacity. And what better way to start than at the beginning? Not at the end, not in the middle, but at the beginning with our early childhood facilities. So what does resilience at early childhood look like? What do we mean when we speak of resilience beginning at early childhood? In simple terms, resilience means bouncing back, getting up, brushing up oneself, going again, and or using prerequisite skills to stop a fall and or to cushion the impact of a fall. So we can safely say that we want to teach our children from an early age how to minimize the impact and how to bounce back in the face of adversities, and to develop in a positive way when they face setbacks. Dr. Ken Ginsberg, 2006 and 2014, in his research as a contemporary resilience expert, states, resilience may be the fourth R, and it is important as to teach reading, writing, and arithmetic. To be a little more explicit, I want to mention some points that the CARICOM region are promoting in an effort to guarantee that our children from an early age are resilient. A few strategies to help build resilience in the early childhood sector. Firstly, opportunities. Daily opportunities for activities, as already stretched by Vida. Activities, both indoor and outdoor, that challenge children's thinking, challenge their thinking skills, facilitate social and emotional development, as well as their coping skills. In other words, children need to be given an opportunity to play, undirected play. It is through play that they learn how to socialize, to work in groups, to share, to negotiate, and even to advocate for themselves. Today, more than ever, with the advent of the cell phone and tablets that occupy our children's time, children need to be given opportunities to play with others. Play helps them to develop competencies that can enhance their confidence and resilience needed to face future challenges. Play allows them to use their creativity while developing their imagination, their dexterity, physical and emotional strength. Moreover, child-driven play will help them develop and pursue their own interests, their own passions, in contrast to, for example, passive entertainment like watching TV. So we want to encourage our early childhood educators to provide opportunities for active play and active involvement of the little ones. Secondly, children should be given opportunities to resolve their differences amicably without the immediate intervention of adults. Let us teach them from a very young age how to solve their problems. If they begin from that age, they will be able to deal with bigger issues that will confront them as they grow older. Children need to be given opportunities to work independently and confidently on in-depth research projects. I can almost hear you say, Wow, research projects? How can children at early childhood participate in research projects? Yes, they can. Let us take a simple example. Today we begin the observance of Agricultural Week. What activities have you planned to observe this week? A simple exercise as planting beans, watering them, and not watering others, exposing some of them to sunlight, putting some in a cupboard is in-depth research for our children to understand the importance of sunlight and water in the growth of plants. Then we can teach them how the bean is green when young. Then it gets dry again and ready for planting. And the cycle goes on and on. From these simple exercises at the institution, parents can continue to reinforce the concepts at their homes. Each child can be encouraged to do some planting at home and observe the change in the plants as they grow. So we have to help our students in problem solving, and in particular, we can use the subject of agriculture to begin that with them. Let us take a look at our library. What sort of books do you have there for your children to read? You need to ensure that children have access to print material, including but not limited to storybooks. There should also be magazines, posters, newspapers that promote characters, both genders, with whom children can identify, both in feelings and in cultural similarities. For example, while our Kalinago craft should be in every early childhood institution on the island, it should be more prominent in those institutions that are situated in the Kalinago territory. Children need to see their homes reflected in their learning space. Are there books or pictures of prominent people in their communities at your schools? Do you tell them stories about prominent people from their communities? These are some of the ways we can assist them. We need to provide our children with encouragement to persevere in We need to provide our children with encouragement to persevere in completing challenging, difficult, or unpleasant tasks in order to experiment and experience confidence in achievement. Children need to learn to persevere to the end of a task. They need to learn from an early age that things do not always work right away. I want to remind you at this point that one of the things that acts against them in that regard is the constant viewing of the television. We need to know that whatever they view on the screen is a constant flash of pictures that move in quick time. And research shows, and it continues to show, that children who are constantly exposed to the television, and now we have tablets, they tend to have short attention spans. This is because while you think they are simply viewing a screen, whatever is happening on the screen is contributing to their neurons that are formed in the brain. Children with short attention span find it difficult to pay attention to details, and they may tend to give up very quickly, even before they have accomplished their goals. Children need from this early age to learn to handle traumatic events in a compassionate and respectful way. As educators and parents, we need to pay attention to the way in which we handle experiences such as crime, natural disasters, violence, death, abuse, neglect, and other family crises. How do we handle these issues if they affect us directly? And how do we react if they affect our next door neighbor? We need to always remember that our little ones are watching and listening. From these simple ways, we will teach our children how to develop character. Parents and educators, you will need to be able to recognize when there is a need to refer a child for social support services where and when necessary. I want to underscore here that intervention is key. Do not sweep things under the carpet and wait for things to fester and then escalate, resulting in inappropriate behaviors. We know that some of the little ones that come to us, they come to us with rough beginnings. They come suffering emotional trauma, suffering shame. Some of them are angry, and they suffer relational abuse and other severe emotional disorders. If you notice something is wrong, say something. Whether it is your child or somebody else's child, help us. Let us get the necessary help and give the child the coping skills that is necessary to deal with the challenges that confront him or her. Not only parents, but our educators too, our teachers. We all have to build on our emotional intelligence so that we too can observe behaviors in children and report it. Too many times, we hear of things happening, especially at the preschool level, especially at the early childhood level, and persons cover it up. And we do not provide the necessary assistance and support for those children. These are our little ones. And we see the anger expressed in the behaviors we see, whether it's as early childhood or at primary school. So help us to help them. With these few points, I hope that you will agree with me that resilience need and must begin at the early childhood level. Student-teacher role is critical in supporting the learning and well-being of students. Positive support. The environment is the key component, and the people that occupy the environment in the support system matter. Therefore, I want to take this opportunity to wish you well in the programs that you have planned. Your service delivery as early childhood educators matter. Do not underestimate your role in creating and maintaining that supportive, reliable relationships. Let our children know that they are loved unconditionally. Promote positive environments. This is what is needed to help them bounce back in times of adversity. Parents too, I want to urge you to work with our early childhood institutions, especially to ensure that the programs help your children to learn to be resilient. Our institutions need your support. At this juncture, I want to give special commendations to our newly created early childhood unit. Join me in saying special thanks to Vida George, Quinn Thomas, and Mrs. Doreen Watt. Thanks for all the work you do in our early childhood centers. Thank you as we work towards building capacity within the administration of early childhood. Your work is helping us bring higher standards of quality, better monitoring, a shift towards a more integrated system, and an increased professionalism that is associated with the care and the education of our young ones. I wish also to congratulate all of you who will be receiving awards here today. The number of years for which you have been teaching and working in the early childhood sector, and for your organizations, your existence have proven that you are indeed resilient. I want to urge all to continue doing better than what we have been doing. My message here today is resilience is built by building supportive relationships, and you play a critical role in resilience building. It is in everyone's interest, and everyone reaps the benefits. Integrate these approaches into your programs. I want to wish you every success in your activities that you have planned for the rest of Early Childhood Month, November 2018. I thank you.
And we begin with Janice Deja, who has served for 21 years. Patricia Alexander. Patricia Alexander has served for 22 years. Eva Leandra Smith, 22 years. Lucina John Baptist Sarah, 23 years. Virginia Coffey George, 26 years. Gail Roll, 34 years. And Tracy Roll, 38 years. Thank you all, and thank you, Dr. Blaise, for assisting us with the presentation of the awards to the individual teachers. We begin with the Sunflower Preschool. Sunflower Preschool, 21 years. Petit Savan Preschool, 24 years. Blossom Preschool, 25 years. No, I gotta take a picture for the lady. We move on now to the Shalom Preschool. Shalom Preschool, 26 years. The Castle Bruce Preschool, 27 years. The Castle Bruce Preschool got its start as a social center preschool, and now they're 27 years in the business. Mon Prosper Preschool, 28 years. Testimonial Preschool, 28 years. That's Testimonial Preschool, 28 years, from Paybush. Kulibistri Gospel Mission Church Preschool, 33 years. $35 years? Okay. That's the Kulibistri Gospel Mission Church Preschool, celebrating 35 years. Pilgrim Preschool, 34 years. That's the Pilgrim Preschool from Castle Bruce. Massac Preschool, 36 years. Oasis Preschool, 36 years. Wesley Community Preschool, 38 years. Maho Preschool, 39 years. Goodwill Christian Union Church Preschool, 40 years. an independence baby. Grand Fond Social Center Preschool, also 40 years. Jones Beaupierre Preschool, 40 years. Kenfield Social Center Preschool, 47 years. And finally, and as we like to say, certainly not least, Charlotte's Nursery Preschool, 50 big years. Glenda Bertrand has been at the helm for 46 of those years.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. I am honored this afternoon to be given this opportunity to give the word of thanks. Let me begin by saying thank you to the Almighty Father for allowing us to be here today. We know what the weather was like over the weekend, and I'm happy to see that this room is filled to capacity today. I wish to thank all of our special invited guests for coming to celebrate with us today and to recognize those who have dedicated their years of service to the early childhood development sector. A special thank you to our speakers. Let me say, first of all, thank you to TC Sunbeam, the preschoolers who started off this session, and the team who did the praise and worship. I felt very proud to be part of this wonderful choir this morning. I never knew that I could sing so beautifully. So thank you once again for helping us to start off this day in good spirits. To Dr. Bless, thank you for giving the welcome address, and Mrs. George for your comprehensive overview of the early childhood sector, and also for your dedicated service to the ECD sector. Your hard work, it shows. I really don't know how she did it on her own for so many years, but we are thankful for you and your leadership. You have very strong leadership within the ECD sector. Dr. Reginald Thomas, thank you again for giving the brief words, brief remarks this morning, especially as we start off Agriculture Week as part of Early Childhood Month. Mrs. Hyacinth, I want to thank you for your continued support to our sector and also for giving the featured address today. To our host, Mrs. Smith, and our education officers, Mr. Joseph, and all the senior education officers, and including Mrs. Watt, of course, who helped with planning and organizing and helping today to be as special as it was today. Thank you. To our ECD practitioner, Ms. Mulcair, who gave us this beautiful rendition of Simply the Best. Thank you so much. It was wonderfully done. And to our farmer, Mrs. Defoe, and the tourist, Miss Norris, thank you again for the poem. To our awardees, congratulations, and thank you for being here today and for allowing us to celebrate your dedicated years of service and success with you today.
To all the other early childhood practitioners, the teachers, the daycare providers, the roving caregivers, we say thank you. Thank you for your continued dedication and your commitment to the early childhood sector. You are the advisors and the teachers of our future generation, of our love, of our home, and of our country, Dominica. What you do is valuable in helping our nation build resilience. So thank you once again for your efforts. Thank you to the parents who are present here today, and for the donor agencies who continue to work with us, Israel Aid, UNICEF, all the others. Thank you so much for your support. Of course, to the media, I wish to say thank you for being here today and for helping us inform the rest of Dominica, the region, and the world as to what is happening in the early childhood sector. Today, we were expecting over 400 people, and here is packed, so please forgive me if I did not mention anybody. But thank you to everyone for coming today. It was a wonderful day, and we look forward to seeing you as we go along doing our duties as the ECD sector, saying that to you. Thank you.